You've landed on planet 412. I'll be your captain of sorts as we navigate this strange, cryptid-filled world. Join me on the quest for truth, through the strange, mysterious, and supernatural. This is Planet 412. And welcome to Planet 412. It is a special day for me today. I get to interview one of my favorite people in the whole world, Carol Ann Reed from the InBetween. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you very much. How are you?
Absolutely. I'm doing well. We
Good.
just got through the holidays and, other than the cold, it's been really good, but thank you. Like I was telling everybody, Caroline is one of my very good friends, her husband, and we love each other. And it's an honor to have you here today to
Thank
talk
you.
about things.
Well, I always tell people that I'm just a mom from Minnesota. And I know people are like, just a mom. There's no such thing as just a mom. I get it. I'm not just a mom. I'm a mom, which is great. But what I'm saying is that I never, before this channel started, had done any kind of storytelling, had done anything remotely like this. So I'm just a regular person. I'm not a haunted house researcher. I'm not a paranormal researcher. I'm not anything
Mhm.
like that. I'm not an author. I'm not a researcher. I just tell stories.
Well,
And
you
that's what
do a
my
great
channel is,
job
just telling
at it.
stories.
Sorry to
Thank you.
interrupt. So how long have you been doing it, Carol Ann? How long have you had this channel?
This channel is about 2.5 years old. It'll be
Okay.
3 years in July. And we have other channels that, since we started this channel, have gotten no attention. But we kind of went through a process in learning YouTube of starting a family channel. That didn't go very well. And my husband has a hypnosis channel and self-help channel, which that actually is doing really well. And then I started a real estate channel because I'm also a real estate agent. And that one was doing pretty well. But then we were like, let's do this other channel. That would be really fun. So we started this channel, and this channel is the one that's actually going someplace. So that's kind of exciting.
It is more than going someplace. You have, in the last few months, exploded. You have one of, I'm not just saying this because we're friends, one of the most popular and interesting and awesome channel on, YouTube in this genre. And it's not easy to, have that many people in such a short amount of time. So you guys are really tearing it up. Did you want to let everybody know, where they can find your other channels at real quick?
I'm not even sure what they're called anymore.
That's okay.
The
Well,
family channel is Corby's Corner, and the real estate channel is The Real Deal with Carol Ann, I believe. Something like that. I haven't even looked at him in so long. We haven't put a video on the family channel since COVID, which was actually really fun. We did this really fun 1950s instructional thing on how to deal with COVID cabin fever. So it
oh,
was all
okay.
black and white, and it had the fun little happy music behind it, and that was actually really fun. But
Did
that was the
your
last one we
son
put
get
up.
into that with you?
Yeah, he did, for a short amount of time. So
Right.
that one's just, I don't know, about just over 100 videos of us just being goofy as a family. So the
That's awesome.
benefit that I realize now is we did that channel from when my son was maybe just before he turned 5 to when he was about 6, somewhere in there. And so it was like the best way to get pictures of my son that I now can go back and watch and just go, oh, that was so great. So that's kind of fun. It's like
And it
better
goes
than pictures with my camera, you know?
and it goes so fast as we were just talking about.
I
Yeah,
know. It's crazy.
incredibly fast. I want to jump into with the channel. So what interested you like to even start the in between? What hit you that made you want to jump into this type of stuff?
I don't know. I have always loved the paranormal, and maybe it's because I grew up in like the the most white bread beaver cleaver family in Minnesota that you can imagine. I mean, life was just whatever. Every day was like a beaver cleaver episode, no
Mhm.
big deal, nothing exciting kind of a thing. And so maybe it was because of that. But when I was a kid, I started watching In Search of with Leonard Nimoy and Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack and reading books on the Bermuda Triangle. And so it was when I was a kid that I just got interested in anything that was strange and mysterious. And I've just always held that fascination with the unknown, with the things in our world that don't make any sense to anybody. I've always had that. So when we were looking for a new channel to start, I was like, oh, let's do that. That would be just a labor of love. And that's kind of what it is.
It is just phenomenal what you guys, are doing. Your husband, Anthony is helping you with the channel. He's
Oh,
an
gosh. Yeah.
amazing person. Um, see,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
had
he is the channel manager, I mean, it's everything that I can do to I research the stories, I write the stories, I shoot them, and I edit them, and then I turn them all over to him to post onto YouTube and post anywhere else he's going to post it. He now turns them into podcast episodes. But if it wasn't for him being able to do all of that for me, I don't know where we would be. So I'm very thankful he's the channel manager guy and our AI image master. I don't
he
even know what
really
to
is,
call him.
and that's another thing. I was talking to Carol Ann before we started about some things I need to talk to Anthony about, and AI is definitely another thing I definitely need to talk to him about. Um, Out
Yeah.
of everything, obviously, there is so much in the world of high strangeness and cryptids and supernatural paranormal. What grabs you the most out of everything? Is there one specific corner that you are most touched by?
I think I'm most fascinated by Bigfoot, probably because I think that's the one cryptid that out of the cryptids anyway, that has the most chance of being real. And I'm still kind of on the fence about all of them,
Mhm.
kind of weighing the evidence as it's coming into me from stories and viewer submissions and things like that. Um, I think Bigfoot probably has the biggest chance of being real. There's just more sighting, there's more data. Um, I know that there's your encounter, and I don't
Oh,
want to
yeah.
disqualify that. I feel really bad. I
Mhm.
just feel like I just totally wiped out your entire encounter, and I'm really sorry about that.
No, no,
Dogman
not
is
at
a new
all.
one to me, and so I'm having a harder time reconciling Dogman. Do you know what I
And
mean?
you're not, yeah, for sure. And obviously you have a lot of people that are just in this day and age, starting to share things more and more because of the forums that we have with mass media, YouTube and the other things. I
Definitely.
also, believe with Sasquatch, the reason it's so much easier for most people to grasp is number one, they've been talking about Sasquatch for a very long time. I mean,
True.
you go into some of the caves and rocks, like in the south west, where you see pictures that they were drawing on the walls, and also the human kind of feature, and with Sasquatch, I think makes people able to grasp that as well. So yeah, no offense at all. It's a lot to grab, because let's be honest, and it was the same place I was when I had my experience, just mythology and movies and everything like that. And then to see something like that real, it really smacks you in the face. So I understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think that's probably the one that hits me the most. Um, I don't know, there are just so many mysteries out there. Even,
Mm.
cryptid aside, just mysteries in the world. They're just crazy, I mean, I get comments all the time of, "Oh, you should look into this," or, "Oh, you should look into that." And more than half the time, I'll get out, jump out of the comment, go into my browser, look it up, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, how did I not know about this? Here's the next episode." Because
And
there's
there
just
you
so
go.
many crazy things out there.
It
I
is.
don't know.
Well, so why don't we jump right there? I mean, you just started talking about, like, give an example.
Our one of our next episodes, I think, coming up is going to be something called, and I'm gonna lose it now because it's Russian. It's the Karahora Cave. And so it was just last week that somebody in my comments said, check out the Karahora Cave. So I did, and it's this super small, narrow cave in Russia. And I hesitate to call it a cave because when they went down into it, when spelunkers went down into it, it's perfectly the sides are perfectly straight, and it goes down a very long way, and it comes into this big cavern, and it's all right angles and all perfectly smooth. It's like an air draft tunnel from one of the pyramids. It's definitely man-made. This is not a natural phenomenon. So it's like, what is that? It's in Russia. I mean, it just kind of blows my mind that it could be. Are we looking at ancient civilizations in Russia now too? You know? So that's just one example.
So Josh Gates' Expedition Unknown is a brand new show that he has on top of other shows that he's been doing for years. And the Atlov's Pass is one of them that he really delves deep into what happened there. And I know you know about, the questions that still remain about how these people died and the strange injuries that they had. And it just really blows the mind of what was going on there. Do you have something that you lean towards, of what happened to them?
No, I don't. I know that the latest theory is a slab avalanche
Mhm.
where, depending on a freeze thaw cycle, just the top layer of snow slides off, and they were tucked underneath this little, next to a wall to shield them from the wind, and so the snow would have come down right on top of them. But that doesn't account for all of the clues and the things that were found there. It doesn't quite, it's close. It's probably the closest theory that's been out there so far, but I don't think it covers everything. And I don't think it covers all of the wounds that they had,
Agreed.
you know? So I don't know.
And that is one of the
Sadly,
things.
go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead.
Sadly, most of the things that I cover, that's usually still where I end up, is totally on the fence. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't
Eh
know. I'm sharing with you the fact that here's the information that I uncovered. Take from that what you will, but I have no idea.
Yeah, and that's basically, what Josh Gates' new show, when he touched on it, is the slab avalanche, which, could definitely do damage the way that they spoke
Yes.
about. Um, but again, you're dealing with Russia, who is, a communist state basically still, even though they like to say they've moved on to being more democratic. I disagree with that. They hold a lot back, and they've basically just have not shared very much about what happened. So all of us are meant to say, hey, what do you guys think about this? Also, another thing that I wanted to touch on was, what do you think about, I wish I could remember the exact area, like I had mentioned, in the Southwest in America, how they have, some of these cave drawings that show like Sasquatch or beings like that. What does that say to you? Like, anybody that doubts that these things could be real?
That's part of it. I mean, there are a ton of Native American
Mhm.
of branches of different tribes that all have legends, all have pictures. all have them on, I shouldn't say all, but some have them on totem poles.
Mhm.
There's so much stuff out there from so long ago, and stories and things that made it into the newspapers, and I believe it was the attack on Ape Canyon that made it into the
Oh,
newspaper
yeah.
way back when. There's I want to say the Ruby Creek incident made it into the newspaper, I believe. Although I haven't done my research on that one, so I could be wrong about that one. But um, I don't know. There's just so much. It's
The
hard
Teddy
to.
Roosevelt one with that
Yes,
he yeah, I mean,
that's a
wow.
good one too. Yep.
Yeah, so if anyone is not sure about what we're talking about, Teddy Roosevelt wrote a book when he was, younger, obviously, and one of them was he was told a story of a trapper who his partner and he were being hunted by some type of large creature, which came out to be, when they looked into it more, a Sasquatch, and killed the guy he was with and made him, take off and leave all of the things that they had been putting together. That blows my mind too. And then we could
Mhm.
jump over for other types of things. You go to Peru. Um, oh, what are those? What are those? The giant symbols that are on the ground that you have to fly to see them. Uh,
Oh, the Naztec,
yes, thank you.
Naztec. Yes,
Naztec lines.
yes.
Uh, so
Is that
right
right?
there, I mean, mind numbing that you think about there were no planes or any, how
Hmm.
could they have even managed to do that
Yep.
and see it? Because the only way to see it is from the air. What does that one tell you? Or what is your opinion about that one?
I don't know. That one's just crazy because it's like, well, how can they all be perfectly straight lines?
Mhm.
They're not all straight features, but I
And
mean,
the
the ones that
symbols
do.
of animals and
Yes, monkeys and birds and hummingbirds, and it's crazy. It's
one that
very,
looks
very
like an
crazy.
alien. There's that one
Yes,
is
that's right, the
human.
alien on the hill, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
know. I don't know, because if you look into aliens in art, not that the Naztec lines are art, but depictions of different sorts, they're, like, everywhere. It's like,
mhm.
well, okay, how do you not come to the conclusion that aliens were here at some point, you know? Because they're in art everywhere.
Yeah.
I just remember, and I can't even tell you who painted it or when, but it was like a Renaissance period painting of Mary and baby Jesus, and over her shoulder in the sky is this little, you know, lit up little craft, UFO shaped craft right there in the sky. It's like, well, that's not a star.
No.
Stars aren't, eye shaped kind of thing. It's like, well, what is that? So there's like so many of these things that I find it hard to believe that we're not being visited by something.
So
I've
glad you
never seen
brought that
one.
up. Either of I you know what? Actually, I take it back. There's 2 experiences I had, and I am so glad you brought that up because I was gonna go there, and as you said, there's other, really old pieces of art or, specific, people back far back in time who have talked about, fire in the sky or, a
Mhm.
chariot in the sky and all of those things. But the the ability of today and with the media and everything and with just the knowledge that is out there about how vast our universe is, it's mind-blowing to me that people still doubt that there can be other life. I mean, just
Right.
mathematically impossible that
Right.
we're it.
Absolutely. I mean, have you ever heard of Drake's equation?
No, I have not. Go
Drake,
ahead.
I don't know if he's here's like my just being able to skim off topics, but I'm not exactly sure who Drake was, but he was probably a physicist or something to that effect, or maybe just a mathematician. But he put together this equation, Drake's equation, that starts with, okay, here's the universe. There are so many X number of galaxies. Let's just say that of X number of and of course, every answer is in the billions or trillions. And out of those billions and trillions of galaxies, let's just say that only 10% of them have a solar system with rotating planets. Okay, and let's just
Goldilocks
say,
zone.
yeah, well, no one, it takes like several iterations to get to the Goldilocks zone of the planet. I
Okay.
mean, he's got like at least 10 different things in this equation where it's like, okay, let's do this. And then 10% of that, we're still in the billions. 10% of that, we're still in, it just goes on and on and on. And he cuts it down and down and down. And by the time he gets to the end, the number is still in the millions or something like that. I mean, I'm way paraphrasing, but that's the idea, is that the number he gets to at the very end, even taking into consideration all of these different circumstances that have to line up for that to happen, which they don't have to. It doesn't have to be an oxygen breathing planet. It doesn't have to be in the Goldilocks zone. We're
Yeah.
just saying that's the best option. That's the best possibility. And when you get to the end of that equation, the number is still staggering. So it's like, how can you not think that that is a possibility and a good one at that
I
point,
agree.
you know?
Very small-minded, almost insultingly small-minded for me. And on those other planets, like, just thinking about Jupiter and other, Saturn, some of these are gaseous planets. And who is any of us to say that there are not creatures or, beings that can breathe or live in those types of places? I'm jealous of my daughter and your son and generations ahead of them for what they're going to find out. I
Yeah.
mean, you just look at, how much things have changed in the last 100 years. The technology is, even in 20 years, how
20
much it's
years.
changed.
Mhm.
Um, but going back to, when our grandparents were still here, and the original, big show of, um, oh geez, I always have mind blocks here. Uh, Help me out here for a sec, Carol Ann. The crash in Nevada, the most famous
Oh,
one.
Roswell.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so again, so glad that we can cut this. So looking at Roswell, going all the way back, you know, absolutely phenomenal. Looking at, how when that occurred, the newspaper clippings, and all of a sudden a day later they shut that up. What is that one, your thoughts on that, and also about our government, about how they hide so much from us?
Oh, I don't know that you wanna get me started on the government.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Uh, huh, yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people who think that, one of the 9 worst words ever spoken are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help," you know? I don't think that's ever the case,
Yeah.
but or very, very infrequently, you know? Um, but yeah, Roswell. Yeah, okay, we have this UFO crash. Here's a picture of the debris, and the next day, it's a weather balloon.
Mhm.
You can't tell me that some what was his name? Jesse Marcel? Jesse Marcel. He was not like some grunt in the army. He was up there in rank, and he can't tell the difference between UFO wreckage and a weather
Yeah.
balloon. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's why it's an ongoing joke on my channel about, uh, of course, it's just swamp gas.
Oh
That's
yeah,
my big thing.
yeah.
It's just swamp gas. Nothing to see here. Give me a break.
And
We're
that
not that
was
stupid.
the era of, whatever the government or the police say, that it must be true. You know what I
Yep.
mean? That
Yep.
is really mind numbing. I always like to touch on this too with NASA. That stands for never a straight answer because
Yes.
they always hide everything as well. And what I
Yeah.
love is I'm sure you've seen some of the videos that they've got busted right before they could cut the feed. There's been something popping up in the background, some amazing types of things. Do you think in our lifetime, me and you, that we're going to see, proof that there is other life out there?
I hope so. I kind of think with the way that information is going right now, that if it's ever gonna happen, it's gonna happen in our lifetime. The floodgates are kind of opening, at least I hope so. Um, so I think if it's gonna happen, it is gonna happen in our lifetime. I think so.
I believe so too. I have a lot of hope in that, and that somebody finally says, okay, enough's enough. Because then you look at the was it the Ronald Reagan where they had the pill shaped UFO, where they have all the recordings that the government released. I forget which ship it was, but just within the last couple of years, how the government has released
Yeah.
footage of these things out there, and they're admitting that we don't know who it is or where it is, where they're coming from. There's new video of like portals opening, and what about that? How does that affect you?
Well, I have a really hard time with that because as much as I love to see some whistleblower in front of Congress saying, "Guess what? We don't know here these things are, and we don't know what they are." If you look at who those people are, they're usually former intelligence officers, and they don't have a good track record.
Right.
Let's just put it that way. They don't have a good track record, and I don't doubt for 1 second that the intelligence community would be more than happy to trot somebody up there in front of Congress to say, "We don't know what they are," as a total lie,
Hmm.
to just lie in front of Congress. Now, whether that means that they exist and they just don't wanna tell us, or they don't exist and they wanna keep that conspiracy theory going, I don't know. But I don't trust them as far as I can throw them to tell me the truth.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Agreed.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
even in the answers that he gave, the one that I actually kind of watched some of, and I think I don't know if he was the first one up there or what. It was about last year or whatever, maybe a couple years ago, where they asked, were these alien bodies or whatever it was that they said? And his answer was they were non-human entities. Well, and of course everybody's like, "Oh, that's an admission that they're aliens." No, it's not. A monkey is a non-human entity. A dog is a non-human entity.
Right.
A computer is a non-human entity. So if you look at what they said, they still didn't say anything. Give me the proof. I want the proof,
Right.
you
And
know?
I am not ignoring you. I'm actually looking up real quick. Um, there it is. Paul Hellyer from Canada, the ex minister of defense that came out and went on tons of different shows and news shows.
Yes.
It says, there are beings from other worlds visiting. They've been coming here for a long time. All of our
Yes.
most powerful countries have been in contact with them. That one blew my mind, as well as Ronald Reagan's famous uh, speech that he gave in front of it was at the United Nations, and said, wouldn't it be amazing if our countries came together if there was an attack from some foreign body in space? But
Right.
and then I'm not saying it identically, but then he basically said, but isn't there already a alien beings that have been here? So he also, has basically told everybody, guys, they're here. They've been coming here, and it was swept under the rug.
Absolutely. Now, I have heard of Paul, is it Hellyer?
Hellyer.
I have heard of him. And I've read some of his stuff, but I have not done a deep dive into him. Because of course, if something like this, especially a story like that, if it's out there, there's going to be a ton of debunkers. So I
Yeah.
want to go read the other side too, and is this guy legit or not? Not that I'm a researcher, not that I have a ton of time to go digging for it, but I
But you
have
want to make
not dug
sure
into
of what, yeah.
topology yet,
Trust
you
me,
know?
you wanna check him out and the things that he said, because it is
Yeah.
mind-blowing. Talking about other things that we've been seeing more and more of, one of the things that makes me upset is, obviously AI and, technology is making it muddy water, let's put it, for aliens and things like that. But there is one place that has been being studied for decades and has, a lot of people that have talked about it, Skinwalker Ranch. Give
Mhm.
me just, a little of Carol Ann's opinion about that place.
Wow. That is just so big. I read one of the newer books about it, and I can't remember what the name of it is now, but where they're taking all the scientific equipment on there, and I think they still do, to try to catch something, and I shouldn't say that they don't. I think it's the History Channel that has a series about it,
Yeah,
and they had
it's
some
still
stuff on
going on.
camera,
Mhm.
but then again, I don't really trust the History Channel either, but I guess my sources are limited, but, yeah, so they had some things that they had caught on camera, which was kind of interesting, but,
Mhm.
that's where I think a big part of the whole portal discussion that has been kind of getting bigger and bigger as time goes on is because of Skinwalker Ranch and
Mhm.
their idea that all of these things that are happening are from some portal that's opening and people seeing beings walking out of the portal, which just blows my mind. But then again, I guess I've covered enough cases where a portal, especially like missing 411 cases, where a portal is about the only explanation
Yeah.
for the outcome of the case. So, you know, having a portal there doesn't really just surprise me all that much because they seem to be everywhere lately. But um, with all of the different things that happen on that ranch, where do you even start? It's UFOs,
Exactly.
it's cryptids, it's everything. It's like the Rosetta Stone of weird and strange, and I can't even just say of cryptozoology because that's not it, of ufology because that's not it. It's the Rosetta Stone of the paranormal, I guess you
Yeah.
would say,
High strangeness.
high strangeness, absolutely. I don't know. I don't ever
It's
want to go there.
wild. Yeah, and they've, talked about when they've seen some of these portals open, they could actually see, with the background of where they are at Skinwalker Ranch, in the portal shape, they could see another place in the background as well.
It's
I
crazy.
love, I would love to go there someday. The things that they've spoken about, having infrared goggles on and seeing red eyes staring at them, and
Oh,
with the one you had mentioned, aliens or creatures coming out of the portal. There's another one where there were two up on the mesa, and it opened, and a all black creature or something shot out of it and started running up the mesa towards them, and then it just disappeared. Sasquatch and dogmen and whatever else, being seen there. It makes you wonder, you have the ley lines, which obviously you can go into forever talking about those.
mhm.
Just different spots on our planet that, for whatever reason, they are much stronger, drawing these things to, or it just gives them the opportunity to come in. Do you think, because there's been a lot of discussion about what Earth is and how long we've been around. Do you think that, some of the thoughts on us, that we really are a science project for some other higher life form? I know you've heard of that before, people talking about it.
Kind of. I can't say that they've put a whole lot of thought into it.
Mhm.
A science project for some other alien race.
Why do you think they
I
would be
don't know.
coming here though? Because they're obviously coming here to watch for some reason.
True,
Are
very
they?
true. I think anyway. Um, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I would say that comparing our civilization to a civilization that could do what they seemingly do, and obviously I'm not the first person to make this argument, but we are we would truly be the children, in the
Oh yeah.
relationship. And so maybe they are just watching and waiting. What exactly that right moment would be that they would decide that, okay, we're ready? I don't know. I don't know, but that seems like the most likely to me, because I don't know what else it would be,
Right.
you know? Because if they were
They all.
here to mine, if they're here to mine for, I don't know, they want gold or whatever,
I'm
or
glad you
water
brought
or
that
whatever,
up.
why would they bother with what we think?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't they just start mining?
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
I mean, if there's an ant hill on the ground and I want the dirt right next to the anthill. I'm not gonna care about what the ants think. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna start shoveling the dirt,
Right.
you know? So
I'm
I
so
don't think
happy
it's a
you brought that
resource
up
issue. Why?
because I was actually going to bring that up myself. There's been so much discussion about is it our natural resources? Is that why they're coming?
Why wouldn't they just take them?
I agree.
I mean, they've demonstrated superiority over our defenses.
Hmm.
If they wanted it, they could take it. Why and not care about what we think or what it does to our planet. They don't care. And
Right.
then go to another one, you know? So I
That's
don't
what
think
makes
that's it.
me think that they're watching us for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, is it the adage of some of these movies that have come out over the decades about, we're watching you to make sure that you don't destroy yourselves, or you have finally gotten to a point where we're going to come and welcome you into the fold of all these other intelligent beings, and no more war and blah 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 blah. I mean, there's so many different things that it could be.
Could be future us. I could totally buy into that one,
Me too. Agreed.
because given all of the different ways, all of the infinite ways that an organism can develop to have another humanoid, 2 arms, 2 legs. I mean, they're not all that description, but the majority of them are,
Hmm.
head, 2 eyes. For them to look that much like us, I could totally buy that that's a future us.
Right.
From a million years in the future. Absolutely. You know, people evolve. We're a lot taller than we used to be. And
Yep.
that's just in the last few thousand years. What happens
Hmm.
in a million years?
Right.
So I certainly could buy that theory, in which case they're looking after us to make sure that we don't kill ourselves.
Right. I
you
agree.
know?
I
Yeah.
agree. Staying in that kind of realm right there about them coming back in time and all that. There's been discussion, obviously, that our government has the ability to time travel. But I want to touch on the more recent mindset of other beings from other planets, not coming from space, but other dimensions. What do you think about that one?
I mm, I mean, if we're, if I believe in portals, then I almost have to believe in other dimensions, because where are the portals?
Right.
Unless they're a wormhole. I mean, I guess that is a possibility. They could be wormholes, but it's also possible they could be another dimension. Now, the
Mhm.
problem that I have is that I don't have a really good trust of, this is what the math says, so therefore it must be. Like, the math tells us that black holes exist, so it must be. Now I know that it wasn't all that long ago that they showed us a picture of a black hole, which to me looked more like a fuzzy picture of a glazed donut. But okay, they showed us a picture of a black hole. Um, but they're still talking about dark matter and dark energy. And the only reason that dark matter and dark energy are even talked about is because they had to create them to get the equations to work. Well, that's not good enough for me. You know what I mean? No, you don't create things to make your math work. Your
Right.
math has to work with what is there, where the evidence is. So telling me that the math, because that's what they say, is that the math tells us that there's a good chance, or that there is, I'm not really sure where they stand on this, but that there's other dimensions. Well, I don't trust just the math,
Right.
so show me the other dimension and let's go from there.
Very good. I agree.
But, you know, but if a portal opens up in front of me, I will have to ask some questions. Is it another dimension, or is it a wormhole? I mean, those are the only two options that I can see at this point, but I'm certainly not a physics major.
Well, and that also brings up, what they're doing at CERN. They've made so many other colliders all around the planet. There is no way on earth anyone should, again, believe what they're telling us. We're just trying to figure out how the Big Bang happened. Well, why are you building so many other ones? And there's little bits of information coming out that they've opened, portals or doorways to other dimensions or other parts of space. And it makes you wonder what they're doing with these things. It's a little
I
scary.
know. I know. I know. And if you believe the rumors, which I don't in this case, but the rumors flying around are just creepy
Yeah.
with, uh I don't know,
Demons coming out and things like
heavily
that. Yeah.
symbolic parades and festivals and things like that. It's like,
Mhm.
okay. And unfortunately, I mean, I would love to dig into that topic. What the hell is going on at CERN?
Yep.
But I think that the time to research, to get real answers, and not just this is what somebody posted on the internet kind of answers, um, I don't have the time to do that. So I can't, as much as I would love to, I can't. That's one of many topics that I can't hit right now
Mhm.
because I just don't have the time. Maybe
Right.
someday when we have a budget outside of just, paying the bills, which is kind of where we are right now, some bigger budget, then maybe I'll be able to hire a researcher who can spend some time digging into those kinds of things and getting some
Yeah.
real answers. That would be just amazing.
I agree. Um, Another recent, mindset kinda switch, if you will, is, of course, there's always been the high strangeness connected to, um, oh, geez,
Give me a hint.
the triangle down in, I can't believe I
Which
go
one?
so, um
Which one? There's like countless number of triangles.
yeah,
Every
there
time
is.
we've done 3 triangle videos already, and every time I do one, I get told about more triangles. It's
I'm
crazy how
bringing
many
up
triangles
yeah,
are
it
out there.
is, and there's one in the Northeast that they've talked about. What I'm talking about is the Bermuda Triangle, and the have
Mhm.
you heard of this information that there's supposedly some type of, artificial intelligence, uh, type of structure underneath, and that we've known about it for a long time, and it moves so much and that we stay away from it. The reason why people have maybe gotten too close to this thing and it zaps them and keeps them out of that space is why people have disappeared. And on top of that, what it's doing all day, every day is this artificial intelligence is building different kinds of drones that it's shooting out, gets the information it needs, brings them back, takes them apart, utilizes the substances that they're making them of, and makes something else. That's
Mhm.
one
I
that's
have heard that.
really blown my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea that it would decide, okay, I need pictures today. So I'm going to build this thing that's heavy on cameras and send it out. And it comes back,
Mhm.
disassemble it, because tomorrow I'm going to need something that's going to give me water samples from every freshwater lake in the world. So I'm going to assemble something different that can handle that task. That is pretty mind-blowing. I have heard that one. But I did not include that in our Bermuda Triangle video that we did, because it just seemed a little too speculative,
Mhm.
which is kind of funny to say because a lot of the information that I have is speculative, but I put out there the best
Well, that's
information I
new,
can
it's
get,
newer.
but
Yeah, it's newer, and then what I
yeah.
wanna go real quick is just the mindset of, okay, then who put that there? What or who made that thing and put it here? And then it makes you go back to the mindset of we are just like you touched on, we're just, just little kids in the universe that just started, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Let me ask you
Yeah, we're
about
gonna
the
put this little room monitor. It's like a room monitor. They're gonna
Yeah,
put it at the
yeah,
bottom of the ocean right here, and so we can monitor all of the kids on the planet while they're growing up.
that's crazy. Then that makes me jump from here on Earth to not too far from us. What's your mindset or opinion on the moon? Do you think it's a
Ooh,
natural body, or do you think it was really built?
I don't know. I have not dug into that. The only thing I can say is that one of my favorite channels is the Y-Files. Do you watch
Oh,
the
me
Y-Files?
too. Yes.
Oh, I love the Y-Files.
Mhm.
And he did excuse me, he will tell you that most of the stuff that he covers, he thinks right off the top, it's it's garbage. It's not true. Like
Mhm.
from the like he just but he builds the story and he does a great job, and
He does.
then he tells you at the end why it's not true, which is always such a bummer, but okay. And he will tell you that the moon being hollow is one topic that he came into very skeptically, like he always does, and by the time he was done, he's not a skeptic anymore about it, and that is one of the very few episodes of his that I have not seen yet. I
Oh,
have
okay.
to go see that episode.
Me too. I'm
Yeah,
probably gonna do that after I turn everything down tonight. That's yeah, it
yeah,
really blows the mind, and, you have people all over the world that are, astronomy, lovers and have extremely powerful telescopes and are able to actually see some of these structures that are not really there according to our government,
right,
or things flying across the surface of the moon, or lights, in specific areas. And then you go back to, the moon landing of, I love to point out, when they came back from there and they're giving their, opinion or answering questions from the news, and they all look like somebody died. And
yeah,
it makes you, think, or well, I believe 100%, because there's that real famous recording that somebody got of them saying that they're here. There's somebody on the moon, and you should see how huge the spaceships. They come back and they all look like, someone said, "Don't you dare talk about it." And they
right,
had the most mind blowing, earth shattering event, and they're not allowed to talk about it.
yeah, yeah, that is amazing. Well, and just, you know, uh, little things like the fact that it's the exact, and I mean exact size as the sun, in proportion that
Mhm.
it completely perfectly blocks out the sun. Well, that's kind of weird, you
Protecting us
know?
for some
What
reason.
what are the chances of that being the case? Not very great,
Right.
you know? And so I know that there are other things like that I just don't know about because I haven't done the research into it, but I should, because that would be a really good episode. I gotta
Agreed.
go watch AJ's video and make an episode.
Me too. I agree. And
Yeah.
it's, you basically just, said what I was gonna say is, there's just so much on this planet that, well, you gave me the idea to say this, so much high strangeness and so many different things that you or I have not even thought about talking about on our channels or touching, that we could go 100 years and
Oh,
not
yeah.
touch on everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. My to-do list for episodes is
A
crazy.
mile long. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I rarely even end up touching the things that I have on the list because I keep finding new things. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do that one instead, you
Yeah.
know? So I never even end up touching the list. But yeah, it's just, there's never an end. Every time I think there's an end, somebody just gave me a comment the other day about the Mothers of Darkness Castle, which, uh, word of warning, if you go look up that subject, it's very, very dark. I don't think I'm going to cover it on my channel because it's dark. But
What
I
was
mean,
it again? The mother?
Mothers of Darkness Castle has to
Okay.
do with satanic rituals and kids and,
Mm,
so
okay.
I'm not
I
going to, I don't
understand.
think I'm going to touch that one. But the fact that constantly people are giving me tips on new videos or I'm sorry, giving me tips on subjects that I've never even heard before,
I
like
love our subscribers, the people
I
that
know.
comment are they're
I
the best.
know.
They
I
really
know.
are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, let
Yep.
me do this. This is going to be our last question here tonight. I want to know, out of everything that you have covered, that you've ever done a video about, what is the one thing that has most affected you, blew your mind? It's just number one, period.
Um, I don't know if this is number 1 because it just happened. It's my latest video, or because it is completely earth-shattering to me. Now, I am not an overly religious person. I was born and raised Catholic. I kinda look at myself as a recovering Catholic.
Me
You
too.
know? Exactly. So, it's like, okay, what so I take things with a grain of salt, whatever. So I'm not super religious, but I just did an episode on the Shroud of Turin, right?
I
Familiar,
just saw
right?
something on that just 2 days ago.
There you go. So I just did this. It was a monster, almost hour episode. Just about killed me getting it all together in time, but I did it. Um, my favorite thing, the most mind-blowing thing, I even told people, I said, I'm saving that for last. So follow me on this. The shroud, the shroud itself is a negative, right? The positive image we can only see when we look at a negative of the shroud.
Right.
Follow, right? Okay. So the negative on the image on the actual shroud is I mean, they know what created the image. They just don't know how it got there, right? They know
Mhm.
why it's there. It's there because the flax linen fibers got rapidly aged. So they turned yellow. So some fibers are yellow, rapidly aged, and the other fibers are not. They stayed white. Okay.
Right.
They just don't know how that happened. So they took a look at those fibers, and here is what blows my mind. We know that it's not pigment. It's not a painting. They've put that to rest, I think. And there are still people who argue, but I think they've pretty much put to bed the argument that it's pigment. So it's not a painting. So it's not a picture because um, for reasons that are in the video, it's not a picture because a picture does not deliver 3D information to this specific piece of equipment that they fed it into. Regular pictures are too flat. This gives like a nice 3D information. So it's
Mhm.
not a photo. So, okay, if you are going to draw a picture, you got a pencil and you're sketching, and you have light areas and you have dark areas, just like are on that's what makes up the pictures, light areas and dark areas of those fibers. If you shade the darker areas, you're just going to put on more lead, and the lighter areas, you're going to put on less lead. So you think, okay, that's how that image was made, but
Mhm.
it's not. That's not what's going on the shroud. What is happening is, I gotta remember how to say this now. It is not more or less yellow fibers making up the image. It is a difference of more or less fibers next to each other in a given square area. And I know I
Okay.
say it better in the video, but what it comes down to is it's called the halftone effect. And if you remember newspapers from back in the day before they had digital printing, that's how they made pictures. It was all dots, and
Right.
it was either small dots or big dots. That is what makes the image on the shroud. It's a half-tone picture.
Whoa.
That blows my mind.
You just blew
Absolutely
mine.
blows my mind. How does that even happen? How does that happen? I don't
Wow. I I did not see that video. I watch all of yours. I definitely have to see
know.
that one. I
Yeah.
wow, I can't wrap my head around that one.
I still can't wrap my head around that one. I can't. I don't even know how to. I don't know.
Does that give you the idea of maybe it really is Jesus on
Yeah,
there? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, certainly I was on the fence to begin with,
Mhm.
um, but I'm kinda tipping. I don't know. I just
You
because I
just made
can't
me more.
I can't for the life of me think of how that would happen, you know?
Wow.
I mean, if you're talking about a forgery thing, well, okay, first of all, they didn't paint it, you know?
Right.
But, okay, Leonardo da Vinci did it with a camera obscura. That's not going to create a halftone effect. Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci, he had the material and he had the know-how to do that, to put a coating of silver on a cloth. Camera obscura was just an old, I mean, it's just, the very first cameras where there's a pinhole in the wall. Here the sun comes in and it projects on a dark surface.
Right.
It could have been done. I mean, they've shown that with, because that's a big theory, is that Leonardo da Vinci painted it. And so they have shown that he had the talent and the know-how to do that. But that gives you a photo, gives you a photo negative, but it gives you a photo. And a photo does not give you a halftone effect. That's a printing thing, not a photo thing. So I'm just blown
Yeah,
away.
I mean,
I don't know what to do.
I'm floored right now by that. I
Yeah,
did not know that.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
for
crazy.
me, there really isn't much of an explanation as old as that is. They carbon, tested that really isn't much more that I could imagine than that it's real.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
they carbon tested, the carbon daters said it dated from,
After Jesus.
yes, but there's a whole story behind that.
That was in the '80s though, and the new thought is
That
that
was in the
they
80s.
didn't do it correctly.
Oh, we know they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
okay,
are
I'm
they
not gonna say that
purposely
the test,
hiding what they found?
it is worth watching the video, not to be plugging my videos, but it
No,
is
of
worth watching
course.
the video just for the story of how the carbon dating went down,
Mhm.
because it's insanity. It is a Three Stooges convention, how it all went down. I'm not saying that the actual tests are wrong, but there's reason to think that they are as well, that they dated a newer part of the cloth, like a repaired section,
Mhm.
so they could be off, but just the politics and egos of how that whole thing went down, that's worth a watch right there, because it is a Three Stooges convention.
Well, the Y-Files is gonna be the second thing I watch because that's first for me.
Thank you. It's
Absolutely.
almost an hour, though. It's like 57 minutes long. It's for
Not
us,
long for
that's,
me, yeah. I mean,
oh my
for
goodness.
us, it is long, but you know
Mhm.
what? I'm gonna be checking that out. Everybody else needs to check it out as well. Carol Ann, as we tie up here, first of all, I again wanna thank you so much for coming on, Planet 412 and
Thank
letting me
you.
interview you. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. Why don't you let everybody know what's going on with the In Between, any information you'd like to plug?
Um, are you I don't know about, there's a whole lot going on. I mean, we drop a new video every Sunday unless something catastrophic happens, which we're not quite big enough to have the insulation to make catastrophic things not affect our schedule. So sometimes we
Mhm.
post on Monday, maybe Tuesday, but that's pretty rare. So most of the time it's on Sunday. So a Sunday drop sometime usually in the afternoon. When it drops is all over the board, but it's usually sometime in the afternoon. It is on YouTube at InBetween, or is it the InBetween? And then if you want to email us, you can email us if you have stories that you would like us to read, maybe. That's InBetweenTales@gmail.com. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. Sadly, I don't take care of those accounts, so I don't even know. I should have looked those up before we started, because I don't even know what those addresses are. But if you go to some version of InBetween Tales, look for the big blue eyeball. That's us.
Well, I
How's
love
that?
you. You are one of my dearest friends. I'm so glad that
Thank you,
we've
Matt.
come into each other's lives. You are
Yes.
one of my top 3 favorite channels.
Thank you.
And, you guys are just doing an incredible job. How fast you are just blowing up. And it's not a surprise for me. So I want to thank you again for being on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It has been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel. I'll see you next time on Planet 412.